Hi, I'm Chef Joe Murphy, co-host of the Chef's Table series. And I'm very pleased today that we have a chef that is revisiting. And today, just keep in mind that this show is instructional. And also, it's all about you. So we want you to learn some techniques from the professionals. And we have today with us Chef Phil O'Toole. And O'Toole is the American version of Cotoni.
Yeah, that's it,
okay,
yeah.
Which is an old Gaelic word, Cotoni, which means O'Toole. You know, Chef, I just want to point one other thing out to our viewing audience. There's a plate, it's for quick cooking, and it's called a sizzle plate. Generally, you just see them in professional kitchens. I have one at my home. They're aluminum, and I gotta tell you, these things on a reheat, they're fabulous.
Very good.
Yeah, and what I do is I will throw that in a hot oven, for instance, or even a countertop convection oven, and leave it in there a couple of minutes because the heat that comes off that aluminum pan is just fantastic. So on a reheat, so that you're not leaving the product, if it's been pre-cooked, you know, in the oven for a long time to get it hot, this is the way to go. But at home, I even cook my fish on sizzle platters.
Yeah, it's excellent.
Now, is that what you use in the restaurant?
Yes, all the we must have about 2 or 3, maybe 4 dozen of these things here.
Yeah.
We're constantly using them all.
Yeah,
Constantly.
because actually I was going to pick up a couple. If I come to the back door, could you throw a few out?
Yeah, we'll get some, put it in the rubbish.
All right, sounds good. All right, Chef, we're going to get going here and get cooking. So I noticed that you have all your burners on. This pan is very hot. So why don't we get going, and as we're talking, as you're cooking rather, we can talk about your technique and what you're looking for.
First of all, we'll start with our codfish. We'll get that seasoned up.
Okay,
Right?
there's the cod. Now, you put a little bit of
I
that.
put a little bit of the oil on the bottom of the
Great.
on
Yeah.
the sizzle platter. Stop it from sticking when you put it in the oven a little bit. So when you
Sure.
go to take it out, it's easier.
Yeah.
You know?
And the other thing I want to mention is we are not using olive oil here. We're using, I believe, a canola oil.
Yeah, that is a canola oil.
And the reason we're using a canola oil is the smoking temperature and, again, the cost. It's a lot more expensive if you're using olive oil. So the canola oil has a much higher smoking temperature than the olive oil, meaning
The higher heat.
it'll accept a much higher heat before it starts burning.
Now these are the seasoned breadcrumbs.
Right.
Basically, what I did is get the seasoned crumbs, add a little bit of the oil to it, and paprika to give it a color of the redness of it, see,
Right.
the oranges.
Yeah, yeah.
And basically,
If we could just show
Oh,
that
sure.
again to your viewers. Great. So it's breadcrumbs, paprika.
paprika and a little bit of oil,
Right.
and I put a little bit of granulated garlic in it also.
Okay, and the paprika does have somewhat of a salty taste. Plus you have fish from the ocean. So, you know, again, think through, project through your finished product and as far as seasoning goes, because you can always add at the very end if the flavor isn't where you want it to be.
This is where I use a little bit of the drawn butter.
Okay,
Put that right over. That'll keep the crumbs from burning.
right.
Okay. Now, here's where the chablis goes in.
Right. Yeah. And, you know, when you're putting this wine in, my technique is you're not trying to drown the product, whether it's fish or chicken or whatever you're cooking. You just want enough to help flavor the final broth and flavor the fish.
Now I put a little bit of lemon juice. Just a little bit.
Nice.
Okay. Now this over here at home, you can bake it probably about 400 degrees, 390, 375. Let it go slow. In the restaurant, it's at 500 all the time. You know,
Right,
you know, so it's a
right.
different thing.
Yeah.
And I'll put this in the oven now,
Right.
so we can get this going.
Right. And if you were to get yourself a sizzle platter, just keep in mind that heat is going to add a lot of degrees in that oven, okay? So, and you know, generally my technique is to check doneness. I try not to break into the fish. I do it by finger touch.
Touch on the thing, yeah.
And again, if you like a well done fish, then the firmer that fish is to your touch, the more well done it is. Obviously, if you like it a very light, flaky, moist fish, you just want a very slight bounce back. Okay.
All right, now, why don't we blacken up these scallops a little bit?
Okay, great.
Now, I don't want to rush these over here because it's going to take longer to cook that codfish than it is for this. You know,
Sure.
I'm just going to dredge these things inside.
You're dredging both sides.
Yes.
And again, you know, one suggestion I have, if you are dredging, you may want to just dredge one side. If you don't like a lot of heat, meaning, you know, that peppery or whatever, use your own judgment as to how much dredging you want to do. Now, Chef just dredged these, he's laid that aside, because if you want to try to be sure that everything comes together at the same time, baking fish is going to take longer than blackening these scallops. Scallops, shrimp, calamari, they cook at a much quicker rate than a baked fish will.
It's going to be a couple of minutes, so we have to...
Sure. Well, let's talk about the other items that are going to be on the plate. You have the potatoes.
The potatoes, we're going to make an oven roast potatoes. And the oven roast potatoes I season with a little bit of paprika, a little bit of fresh rosemary, garlic, and
Nice.
the oil again, canola oil.
Great, great.
This is, we're going to make just maybe a wilted spinach.
Sure.
Just hit it on the fire quickly, season it with a little bit of butter and garlic and salt, and that's it. You know?
Right, right.
And that's going to be...
Yeah.
And then we're going to make a lemon sauce, which is
Oh,
going to be
great.
made out of the raw butter,
Yeah.
lemon juice, Chablis wine, and chives.
Wow.
And we'll put that down, and that's going to go on top of the
Right,
fish. What is
right.
that?
Yeah. Now, let's talk a little bit about the restaurant. Yesterday, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to eat, and I said, you know what, I'm going to go to the Corrib. So I went to your restaurant, and they had a nice salmon with the pepper lemon
Yeah,
sauce.
lemon pepper. Yeah.
Oh my God, it was fabulous, and I completely enjoyed it. I went with my sister, and she wanted your chicken piccata, which she was just oohing and ahhing about. So,
good.
you know, it's really great that I went there. And as a matter of fact, I am a regular at the Corrib because I believe it was Labor Day. I had your baked haddock, which
Yeah.
is excellent as well. And, you know, this show, you're going to see a few extras because their fish comes from day boats, and I'll talk about that later when I talk to Tony Bligh, who is a family member of the Corrib Group Restaurants, where they have 3 restaurants, one in Brookline, one in Brighton, Alston, and then, of course, West Roxbury. So I know because when I'll go into your restaurant, I'll have fish generally. And-
Secret is freshness.
Yeah, exactly.
Can't beat it.
Yeah, and you know right away that this fish is really fresh when you eat it, which I enjoy. It's not from a frozen product that's slacked off. You know, it's not pre-shaped, or you can tell that it's the freshest quality and highest quality available.
Yeah, well, it is, and we go through a hell of a lot of it.
I'm not supposed to say.
Oh,
Cut that.
we do go through a lot of seafood, over
Right.
there. But then again, we sell a lot of meats.
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah, which is great. And, You know, the Bligh family is just, they are a community involved family with the Corrib chain, and they help so many people through their foundation, and they're just, you know, they're people that set the example, they set a standard. And I know their staff, not that I know them personally, but I am aware that the staff has been there. From your wait staff to your chefs, like yourself.
Yes.
Your bar people, they've been with the Corrib family for a long time. And in the restaurant business, there's always a lot of turnover. And I heard about a chain, and I'm not gonna say their name, they turn over all their staff at least once a year. And this is a chain with probably 20 units, okay? But because of who the Bligh family is, they have very loyal staff. And you're a great example of that.
Oh,
Chef O'Toole.
O'Toole, yeah.
Right.
Let's check our fish.
Okay. Now, you know, I just want to point something out. Chef just opened the oven to check his fish, and this comes from years of experience. He said a couple of more minutes. You know, he knows just a lot of times by looking. You know, that looks like it's just about ready, or it needs a couple of minutes. But you can gain that technique and knowledge as well as you start developing your cooking skills.
Oh.
Okay, so what are we doing next?
Well, maybe we can start that thing. No, really, 'cause we still have to wait a second,
Well,
I think.
what-
Well, why don't we do the scallops? You wanna?
Sure, let's do the scallops. Okay, now, you may see, I don't know, he just put his pan spray on here, and you got some smoke. You're gonna blacken these, so you want a real quick burn on the outside so that those spices and herbs start blackening right away, okay? And hopefully you can hear that sizzle. So do not be afraid of heat. You can always turn the heat down if it's gonna be on there a long time, or just take the pan or whatever you're using as your cooking instrument, just take it off the burner, okay? And let it come down in temperature.
Be a little warmer too, remember?
Okay. All right. So I can hear this sizzle going, and I'm looking forward. Everybody loves scallops, at least everybody I know. Now you're adding a little butter just to give it flavor and moisture, or helping the browning process?
Helping the browning, exactly.
Okay, great. Okay. So, on your lemon butter sauce?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's a quick sauce, it's very quick.
Yeah, why don't we take a look at, well, we can wait on that, I guess. Do you want to finish your scallops first? Okay, great.
Yeah, I should have had a little more heat there, but you can see how they're starting to blacken.
Oh yeah, they are blackening. You know, another thing I want to mention is, you know, I can't tell you, and I'm guessing, not guessing, but from my own experience. When this fish comes into a restaurant, that chef is looking at that product.
Oh, yeah.
And what do? Let's say you get 40 pounds of fillets, fresh cut fillets, okay, of fish. What do you do? Tell us that process.
Well, the first thing for you to do is keep it iced and cooled at all times. It doesn't stay out at room temperature at all or anything like that, the only time. And then basically we cut it into portions, and then that's
Right.
it. I mean,
Now, do you look for a shiny looking fish? You do a smell test?
It is. We have, like I say, it has a nice shiny fish. It comes in, it's, you can tell the freshness on it. You can still see the water on it, basically.
Right.
That's how good it is, you know. And like I say, who we do business with, they're not gonna, they give us the best.
Right,
So, I
right,
mean,
yeah. You know, but in your supermarkets, when you're looking, do not be afraid to do a sniff test and eye that fish. Really take a look at it. Is, as Chef just mentioned, is it wet, okay? And you can tell if this has been a fish that's not a dry fish, if it's dipped in chemicals, sometimes you'll start to see it getting this very light yellowish color to it, okay? That's an indication to me that this fish is not off a day boat, which is pretty much what it means. The boats go out in the morning and they come back in the evening and they go right to the processing plant where they're filleted and ready for restaurants, supermarkets, fish stores. So you can always ask, and that's another question I ask your fishmonger, is this from a day boat? Okay, and I've never had a problem with the truth. And if I did get a piece of fish that I knew was hanging around too long, or I could tell that this was not from a day boat, and I took it and cooked it and ate it, that was the last time I would go to that particular vendor.
It's quite a thing also, when you go down to the pier and watch them unload.
Right.
It's amazing the fish that it comes up with. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
quite a thing. I go to Chatham and I go over there and it's unreal. It's nice. People are just like, all the boats coming in, people, all the tourists are watching. It's
Yeah.
quite a sight, quite a sight.
So do they hand out free fish?
Oh, yeah, and that's $15 a pound.
Right, right. And another thing, I want to mention this about scallops, and we've talked about this before, but just to give you a little bit of a recall, on scallops, do not be afraid to ask, are these dry scallops?
Yes.
What is the difference between a dry scallop and a wet scallop?
Well, the wet scallop has been treated, it's been treated with SGPP, and it's sodium, now I can't even think of the name of it, but it's, and what it does is causes the scallop to absorb water before freezing or whatever. And what it does is increase the weight of the scallop.
Right, and puffs them up.
Puffs them up, exactly. And you can see if they're over-soaked, they start to get like transparent.
Right.
You know, you
Yeah.
get this shiny, transparent thing. It looks almost like artificial.
Right. Do you get a milky look to them, or
Not on the fresh scallop.
not in the front?
Not on the fresh scallop. The dry scallop over there fresh is the nicest. No juice, no nothing, just plain, beautiful
Right.
scallop.
So you're actually paying, the product you're buying, the scallop, is scallop. It's not puffed up with water and preservatives. So always ask for the dry scallop.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, maybe start those veggies.
Okay, great. The fish is coming along. We're blackening the other side of these scallops.
Over here, I just put a little bit of the drawn butter inside for the spinach.
Right. Now, we are going to use a technique the chef calls wilting, okay? If you can think of buying a box of frozen spinach, and when you let that thaw and take it out, it looks like one big blob, okay? In wilting, we are just going to cook that until the leaves just start becoming softer looking. But by the wilting process, for eye appeal, you're not going to take a lot of that great green color out of it, which is, and you're not going to lose a lot of the nutrients that are in there because, you know, if you cook fresh spinach, you know there's a lot of water in there. So we don't want to necessarily cook all that water out. And so this wilting, it's just a quick saute and you have a finished product. And I love spinach myself.
Baby spinach is
Excuse me.
no, let's let that rest.
I'm sorry. All right, ready? Okay, so you've just seen what Chef did. He cooked it just as it started to wilt down. He took it off the burner and then left the spinach in the hot pan. And that's a great technique.
Now, we'll make that little lemon sauce because everything's going to be coming right out here now.
Great.
So what I use is raw butter in this.
I see.
This is unsalted.
Right. Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that again. Remember, this is instructional. And you've heard me on every show talk about your butter choice when you're cooking. Unsalted butter. Why? Well, the main reason is you don't want to oversalt your dish, okay? So use the unsalted butter. And what I recommend, if you want to buy that 1 pound block of butter, generally that has a much lower water content. So on block butter, you're getting more flavor, you're getting more butter, and you know, you could certainly use the like pre-cut quarter sticks, but just a little tip. And Chef just melted his butter very quickly. What else did he throw in there?
A little
Chives?
bit of chives in there and
White
Chablis
wine.
wine.
Okay. And when you're using wines, if you haven't used it before and you want to start using wines, first thing to remember, you want to cook that alcohol off because you don't want your food to have an alcohol taste.
Oh, should I put it together over there?
Sure, whatever you want, Chef. I've been in enough kitchens where the chef is king, so whatever you want to do.
There's our codfish.
All right.
Little oven roasted potatoes there.
Oh, they look great.
Let me get by you over there.
Sure, go ahead, Chef. Wow, doesn't that look great? And you see that you had this temperature in this oven up to 400, you said? So what did that do? It helped cook your breadcrumbs on top and give it a great color. And you have, you know, you have the blackening, which gives it that orange color. Wow, this dish is coming together. Now, we're gonna add your oven roasted potatoes, which I love. And again, Chef, did you put a little bit of oil on those?
Yes.
Okay, so what Chef did was the oil, the same seasoning that you used in your breadcrumbs and on your blackening of the scallops?
Yep.
Okay, now here's your wilted spinach. Try to remember, do not overcook your fresh spinach, okay? But that is a beautiful plated meal.
Now, you just put a little of the,
Sweet. Now he's adding his lemon butter with chives just over the top. Again, we're building flavors here, all right? And that's part of the cooking process. And if you want to get to a level where you're achieving what you get in a great restaurant like the Corrib, then all these steps.
you can add them a little bit, want to give them a little bit of the.
Yeah. Great.
Well, that's it.
Okay, so Chef Phil Cotoni gave us another great presentation, and you know, I still have had people mentioning to me when you did the St. Patrick's Day show. Of course, Phil is the head chef in a very well-known Irish restaurant pub, and St. Patrick's Day is huge for the Corrib chain. And he did what they call a bouquet garni, and generally that's done with cheesecloth. And Chef uses coffee filters, which is great. And so, yeah, we'll talk about the bouquet garni at another time on the show and the ingredients. So, you know, Chef, this has really been great. I think we've really hit some key points for our viewing audience. And as usual, this meal looks great.
And it's easy.
And it's easy.
Very easy to put up.
Right.
And it's fresh, it's good.
Yeah.
Can't beat it.
Okay, well, thank you, Chef. It's
Oh,
great
thank
having
you
you on
again.
the show again.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
Right. Now, just as a surprise, Tony Bligh from the Bligh family, we're just going to do a short discussion about the fish, but we have a segment that we haven't done before coming up. We're going to actually go to the fish company that supplies the Corrib chain with their fish, and it's on the Boston waterfront. And this will give you an idea about, you know, what goes into the final uncooked product that may come to you either at the restaurant or in the supermarket. So we're really excited about doing this, and so I'm going to have a few words with Tony, and we'll come right back. Okay, Tony Bligh from the Bligh family, who are the owners of the Corrib Group, was willing to come in today and just talk to us about the restaurant, which is in West Roxbury, but Brighton and Brighton and Brookline as well. Tony, I got to tell you, this looks absolutely fabulous, and you know, we were talking a little earlier about the quality of the fish you use. So you invited us to go to Constitution Seafood, and we're going to do a much larger interview there.
Yeah, Joe, I'd just like to start by saying I thought Phil did a great job with this dish, just like he does with everything else.
Yeah.
And we're lucky to have him. And when you approached me about doing a feature with us, you know, we sort of look at everything as a partnership.
Right.
You know, we have had our staff, we have a tremendous amount of long-term staff. We sort of feel them as like partners. Our distributors we've had for close to 25 years.
Wow.
We feel them as like partners.
Yeah.
So I got to thinking that we love to source fresh fish, fresh produce, fresh meat, you know, and we use a fish purveyor, Constitution Seafood, that is down on the Boston Fish Pier. Right. And I thought maybe we might go down there, check out their operation, so you can see it comes off that boat and it goes right to Constitution, and then it gets on that truck and it comes to us every day. So, and then our guys cut it. We're not getting prepackaged fish, anything like that. Our guys cut it and it goes right on your plate.
Excellent.
The fresher it is, the better it's going to taste. Right. And that goes for the fish, that goes for the beef, that goes for the produce. You know, and that's what you have to do.
Right. And Tony just led me into saying something that I wanted to talk about. And when I was talking about having fish last night, nice piece of salmon at the Corrib and West Roxbury, one thing is local, sustainable products. And if you want to know the trend in restaurants, sustainable products, produce, fresh fish, sourced from local vendors that's either grown on local farms, or it doesn't get any fresher than coming into Boston or having your fish supplier right there. The fish comes off the boat, goes into the processing plant, into an ice box, and right to your restaurant. So you know you're going to get a very high quality meal at the Corrib Restaurant. So we look forward to seeing you at Constitution Seafood, and you'll be luckier than having to talk to me. Carol will be there with you.
I'm looking forward to it.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Right, and we love the Corrib people. They've always been great to us. So again, and I like the term partnership. And in business, that's what I try to talk to. And most people look at you like you have three heads. What do you mean partnership? But it is about relationships and caring about the other person. So again, that's just a foundational point about what this restaurant will give you, okay? They want the best ingredients, the freshest ingredients, and they have a great staff. So thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Okay. Now remember, the Chef's Table, okay, is produced now by the Chef's Table Foundation, which has been developed for you. And this foundation will be supporting people in need in your community. So we look forward to hearing from you, and enjoy cooking. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Rob Costa with Massachusetts Beverage Alliance. Today we'll be pairing Baxter from Maine's Autumn Ale, their Hayride, with the fish dish. So why we chose this particular beer is because a lot of times this time of year, people will start making beers specifically for fall beers. They'll start going into pumpkins, but I figure there's just about every pumpkin ale out there and getting sick of it, so why not something different? So what we have here is an amber ale that's actually brewed with the same spices that you might find in a pumpkin ale. However, it is aged on American oak, which gives a kind of a more nuanced vanilla note as well. So the spices usually do pull out a lot of the great flavors that come in any seafood dish, really. You know, it's not going to be too overpowering for any of the greens that are being made with the dish. And what you can see here is the head's perfect on it, so it is able to kind of use that carbonation to cleanse the palate a little bit more. The aroma is right there. There's a lot of vanilla from the oak, and it's just going to pair phenomenally well with every fish dish that is in season, as long as it's spiced well.
Hi, I'm Bill Caruso from Blanchard's Wine and Spirits, here to present a couple of wines to go with a recipe that includes oven-baked cod and blackened sea scallops. So, white is the order of the day, and whites, in this case, from Argentina. Most people, of course, know Argentina as the home of Malbec, a wonderful red wine grape, but they do wonderful work with a lot of the other varietals that are white as well. So here we have first a Chardonnay from Nicholas Catena, easily the most important male producer of wines in Argentina, from high-altitude vineyards. So that the acidity stays fresh. There's a little green apple there, a little floral note, and perhaps a little spice. Now, the spice is probably from the oak treatment that it receives. It spends something like, 10 months, I believe, in a mix of new and old French oak. So you have a wine that's complex, and as I like to point out to our customers, even though it's 100% Chardonnay, it is actually a blend of Chardonnays from 3 different vineyards. So each one has a little bit something different to offer, and this is the winemaker's art to make the wine more complex. You can see that in the recipe you have lots of different flavors going on, so you want something that is the next step up in wine. You don't want it to necessarily be more complicated than the food is, but it should be at least as good. So here we have a somewhat mellow mouthfeel to it. It receives about 40% malolactic fermentation, which sounds a little hyper-technical, but can't be helped. A lot of what people object to with the Chardonnay grape is too much oak, and 10 months is certainly not too much. The other thing, is when they become very buttery oaky, that will please some people, but not everyone. So that is the result of malolactic fermentation. And the chemical that gets produced in that, diacetyl. So, so much for chemistry. In the meantime, this pitches more to the middle, so that even people who say, oh, I don't like Chardonnay anymore, should take a look at it, because it's part of what I usually refer to as the counterinsurgency. There are lots of unoaked Chardonnays out there, and some undergo absolutely no malolactic fermentation whatsoever, and there are others that come more to the middle and give it a little bit of oak and some malolactic, but not full malolactic. Okay, so back to Chardonnays, a great grape and a good match for the food. Now, grape number 2 is not nearly so well known. It's called Viognier, and like Chardonnay, which is the principal white wine grape of Burgundy, Viognier too is French. It's from the Rhone, indeed the northern Rhone, where the most famous wines are Chateau Grillé and Condrieu, in case there are any French fans of the grape out there. What makes Viognier so interesting is a beguiling blend of rich aromatics and a dry palate. Normally, what we hear is peaches, honeysuckle, apricot, things like that. So let's give the wine a chance to speak for itself. And certainly it has all of those going on. Now, when Viognier gets the right site, the right treatment, then it also has a flinty minerality. This propels it into the next category point up. And again, for the cod particularly, I think, if the Chardonnay was a beautiful match for the Blackened Sea Scallops, certainly the Viognier with the cod would be just wonderful. Now, you have them both, on the same plate. So if you have enough guests at table, and enough wine glasses in your china cabinet, then double set and double pour. 2 wines for oven-baked cod and Blackened Sea Scallops, Nicolas Catena's Chardonnay from High Altitude from Argentina, and Diamande's Vineyards Viognier from the Uco Valley in Mendoza, Argentina. Cheers.
Hi folks, Steve LeCount from Corrib Bistro in Westwood with this week's Chef's Tip of the Week. This is, we're entering summertime, so one of the key ingredients here of summertime is watermelon. Kids love watermelon, so I'm actually going to show you a pretty cool watermelon salad that can be done both in a children's version and an adult version. So what we're going to do is start with some fresh watermelon. Now this is totally optional. What we've done is cut it into chunks here and actually put it on the grill a little bit. So let's say for the kids, they may not enjoy the grilled flavor, we'll just slice that piece off. And what I want to do is make a nice light summery dressing that's really bright and has a lot of flavor, but it's very, very simple. It's actually basically only 3 ingredients. So what we're going to do is start with a little bit of Asian rice vinegar, and this is the unsweetened one. It has no sugar and no sodium. To that, we're going to add some fresh lime juice. And when I do a lime, I just put a fork in there. If it's only a couple that I'm doing and I want to get out a juice, or just kind of poke a few holes in there, soften that flesh, and you'll get a good amount of lime in there. And I'm not even going to put oil in this dressing. This one is pretty much a fat-free dish in the first stage. Now when we do the adult version, we're going to add a couple more ingredients, but either way, it's a very, very healthy, light and bright summer dish. Great for last-minute entertaining. It only takes a few minutes to do. So the last ingredient we're going to add is some natural honey in here. And basically we're making a sweet and sour type of dressing with a nice bright blast of fresh lime juice in there. And I do want to season that, so I'm going to add a little bit of salt and a little bit of black pepper in there. And that's pretty much it. Now, the longer you let the watermelon marinate in this dressing, the more of the flavor it's going to pick up. So for the kids, I would just cut these into cubes. If you have cookie cutters and you want to cut different shapes for them, that can be a lot of fun too. And we're just going to toss those in a bowl. Put a little bit of this dressing on there. And then I'm going to take some fresh mint. And pretty much everybody has mint growing somewhere in their yard. If you don't, you're guaranteed your neighbor does. The stuff grows wild and rampant. Kids love mint, so we're just going to chiffonade out a little bit of that in there. Toss that in with the watermelon, and then just toss the whole thing around and place that in a bowl, and you've got a great little healthy snack for kids. It's got a ton of color. You get the nice greens from the mint, the red from the watermelon, and then a nice zing of that lime juice and a little bit of Asian vinegar. Now to kick this up for the adults, I'm going to actually cut the cubes a little bit bigger here. We're going to leave those grill marks on that watermelon. Toss those in the bowl. We're going to also put mint in this one. But man, and a little bit of cilantro leaves here too. Cilantro's got that nice zing to it that just marries really nicely with citrus like fresh lime juice. And you also find cilantro used widely in Asian cooking, so it should marry nicely with the rice vinegar as well. Okay, I'm just going to put that aside. Now we're going to add 2 more ingredients to this. We've got that sweetness of the watermelon, and good cooking is all about, you know, balance. So we've got a sweet watermelon, got some acid in there. The honey is balancing the acid in the dressing. Now I'm going to get a salty element in there, but also a different textural element. So we're going to put in some feta cheese. And this is actually a sheep's milk feta, so it's got a little bit of tanginess to it. And the last thing we're putting in are these beautiful oil-cured olives, which you can buy pretty much at any upscale supermarket now. And these cost a little bit more money because they've dried them in the sun and taken the, you know, they've oiled them, dried them in the sun to take some of that water out. And what that does is really intensifies the flavor of the olive. And these are actually the official olives of making a black olive tapenade. So we're just going to toss all that together. You got some gorgeous color in here. You've got reds, bright whites, blacks, and of course the green from the mint. And there it is. It's that easy. It takes 5 minutes to make this. And you've got a great summertime salad there that you can use as a first course, a snack, or an hors d'oeuvre type of thing, maybe a tapas type of thing for a stand-around wine tasting for you and your guests. So thanks for watching. It's Steve LeCount from Corrib Bistro in Westwood with this week's Chef's Tip of the Week.
Hi, my name is Alex Tillotson. I'm the culinary demo specialist at Whole Foods Market in Dedham, and I'm here to share with you our quick, healthy tip of the week. A great snack item that you can make a big batch of at the beginning of the week or even during the weekend and then have for weeks afterwards are homemade pita chips. And the great thing about making them at home is you can control 3 things: what type of flour you use, how much salt goes into them, and how much oil you're using. So what I like to do is just cut up some whole wheat or multigrain pita breads and sort of slice them with your kitchen scissors, and then you just spritz them with a little bit of canola or olive oil spray and sprinkle a tiny bit of kosher salt on them. Bake them in the oven at 350 degrees until they're nice and crispy. You can hear that crunch. And they're great for dipping in all different kinds of spreads: hummus, you can do pesto, tzatziki, anything you want. Just take a baggie of these with you and a little container of your favorite dip or spread, and you've got an awesome snack to go that's healthy and flavorful. That's our healthy tip of the week.
Hi everyone, we are here at the Seaport District. I am here at Constitution Seafoods, and we thought it would be a great idea to show you where Tony Bligh of the Corrib Restaurant and Pub gets his food. So we're here to show you from the day boat, processing, to the plate at your restaurant, how we get the food. So Tony, tell me more about where you get your fish and the relationship you have with Jack.
Well, in the last segment, we showed Phil and how my guys do their job.
Right.
But they can't do their job as good as they are unless they have great ingredients. So we source our fish locally and as fresh as possible. We've been doing this for years. It's very trendy right now. This is what we've been doing for over 25 years.
Right.
And we do it with our produce, we do it with our fish, we do it with our meats. And we've been working with Jack Least from Constitution Seafoods right down here on the water in South Boston. We've worked with him for a long time. We've worked with a lot of our vendors for a long time. We have a great relationship with Jack. We get the best quality. He gets it off the boat, it comes here, they cut it, they fillet it, it goes on his truck, and he drives it right over to the restaurant.
Every day.
Yes.
Yes. I love eating the fish at the Corrib. It's excellent.
A lot of that is because of Jack.
Wonderful. So Jack, let me come over to
Yes.
you. I love the fish. I eat at the Corrib probably 3 times a month.
Right.
Salmon, swordfish, scrod is my favorite. So tell me more about your business and what you do here.
Well, we buy fish daily, we process it, and as Tony said, we put it on the trucks and deliver it. We sell, we do a lot of cod, haddock, lobsters, scallops, salmon, sword, tuna every day.
Wow.
So we do the whole gamut of stuff.
Now, what time does your day start in the morning?
Well, we're in here early.
What's early, Jack?
Well, some people are in here at 5. I might not be in here at 5. I'm in at like 6. But
And what's it like in this facility at like 6, 7 o'clock
well,
in
it's
the morning?
busy. It's everyone is at work, and it's
Right.
not a very glamorous thing we do, but we do it, and someone has to do it. We do it.
Wonderful. So time of the day boat, you said there's a difference between day boat and...
Well, there's a
Type of
there's
fishing?
some boats go out for a day.
Yeah.
It's not overnight, so it's not like a 5 or 6 day trip. It's
Right.
overnight inshore. They catch it, they come back, and we like to get that fish, and we process it and send it to Tony's.
Wonderful. Now tell me about your delivery. Tony was saying that you deliver practically almost every day?
Yeah, 6 days a week.
6 days a week?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
And maybe if you twist my arm,
Jump
Sunday.
at 7?
Maybe on
Carol,
Sunday.
he's bailed me out on many a Sunday.
Maybe on Sunday if you treat me right.
Right. So no resting
Right.
except for those favorite people.
Right.
Wonderful. Excellent. Well, you guys, thanks for being on the segment with me. It's excellent. You know what I mean? So everyone, again, we're here at Constitution Seafoods, Seaport District, and come see Jack. Thank you.